Hey everyone, welcome back to the Basically Sisters podcast. I'm Natalia.
I'm Ashley.
Happy Monday. I guess we haven't recorded in a while. We hope you guys have enjoyed our previous episodes. We know there's been like a little bit off time with what's getting posted. Ash has some news, life updates, I'd say. Life updates.
I moved. It's my first apartment by myself. So
yeah.
If you ever moved, you know how everything just kind of gets flipped upside down. You don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
So I've just been living out of boxes for the past couple of days. But so huge. That's like such a big step for me.
New chapter for sure.
Yeah. So, and it's been great so far.
When I moved, I remember that was a lot.
And I waited to the last minute to pack everything. Like I still haven't packed everything. Like I have to go back to my parents' house.
Oh, there's still more?
Just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just things I got to go through. Like little knickknacks over the years,
Yeah, it's a lot, like moving, then unpacking, resetting up, getting new stuff, and like also just adjusting to your new place can be a little bit like...
It's very interesting.
Yeah, because you've also never lived by yourself. Like this I remember the first time I like had my own apartment. Well, I've only had one apartment where it's my current one, but when I first moved in by myself, I was like, this is so interesting. Like I've lived with roommates and I've had like where it kind of feels like you're living by yourself sometimes with roommates, like you're living on your own, but like with nobody else there, it's like,
it's crazy.
It's like, oh my God, like it's an adjustment, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's still not even like, I feel like I'm at an Airbnb.
But you know your neighbor really well, so
yeah.
She knows the landlord.
Yeah. So that gives me peace.
Yeah.
Also, I think it would be completely different if I moved in and didn't know the person that I was kind of like living above. So
no, exactly.
But yeah, so big changes are going still
to start the spring. Yep.
Yeah, so that's why things are getting pushed back a little bit. But
we've been trying to post more on social media. It's been a lot. Like honestly, like doing this on top of a full-time job and like having other life aspirations. It's a lot. But
yeah,
we hope you guys have been enjoying. We always appreciate feedback, whether it's constructive, positive, whatever. Write a review, honestly.
Thanks.
Give us a review. Follow us on all the socials.
We'll appreciate that.
But yeah, with that, I don't really have any like new updates, but I started a new job like a few weeks ago. I don't know if I ever said that.
I don't think you did.
I kind of just happened. But yeah, other than that,
see big changes over here, guys.
With the spring. I'm excited.
We're leaping into the new. We hope you guys are too. Time for new.
No, exactly.
No.
But yeah,
congrats.
Anyways, thank you.
That's
congrats
big
to
also.
both of us. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Anyways,
we digress.
We're at the main topic in today's episode is we're talking children.
Oh, whoa, baby. Hold on.
We're talking F them kids. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about how nobody wants to have kids these days. Honestly,
nobody wants work. No, nobody wants to have these kids these
I've
days.
seen a lot less baby fever.
No,
and a lot more F them kids. I'm not kidding you, because there was a phase where there was so much baby fever, and now
it's crickets.
It's really just a list people are dropping of why not to have kids. So and there's a lot of other factors behind it, and we're kind of just going to dive right into that. But yeah, that's the main topic. So the first thing I wanted to kind of bring up is how this has kind of been a trend for a while, I guess. I mean, we've kind of known that though, because compared to our parents' generation, our parents technically baby boomer. Well, compared to the baby boomer generation versus us, obviously it's a lot lower. And
I don't know if my parents are the baby boomers.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying compared to the generation of baby boomers and Gen X.
Yeah,
I feel like baby boomers and Gen X, like they still had a lot of children.
Yeah.
Then it was like millennials.
Yeah.
Is millennials the next one?
I think so. Yeah.
Where it started to slow down, and then Gen Z is like,
who's Gen Y?
Oh, maybe Gen Y is between millennials and Gen X.
I thought Gen Y was like the ones after us.
So it goes boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. Oh, silent? There's a generation called silent?
No, they need to be silent.
Between ages, it's 1928 to 45, and then
That's silent.
Yeah, apparently 74 to 90. Yeah, so like
that's so rude.
Why would they do that? It's kind of messed up.
So generation silent.
Yeah, so they said, and then boomers are 40s.
I'd be hot.
Yeah.
Why is my generation? Those are the main ones that weren't silent.
I know, right?
They were over here going to war.
Well, no, the boomers were over here. Everyone blames the boomers. And silent, because the silent generation bought their house for like $30,000 and selling it for like $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, silent boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. So we're Gen Z, but
what is Gen Y then?
We're on the cusp because Gen Z starts 97. I didn't even realize that.
It starts 97?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Really?
I thought it was later. So we're almost millennials. We're by a year millennials. Gen Y must be like the one before us by...
No, I think it's the one after.
I mean, yeah, like the younger, and then it's Alpha. There's like Gen Alpha or something I heard. That's like really young. But regardless.
Internet.
So
I don't know.
The trends have changed with like having children, and we're seeing like a rapid decline in birth rates, and some people are comparing it to like what's happening in Japan. So I don't know if you know I feel like a lot of people have heard of what's happening in Japan. Mm-hmm. How their replacement rate is like so low, and it keeps going down.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a whole thing that like kindergartens are getting closed, and like they have to keep opening more like nursing homes and stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Like it's like the complete like
yeah.
It's
such a shift.
Yeah, it's a shift. And people are saying that might be what is happening. Well, not what is happening now, but what could be projected to happen with this downfall in like birth rates. There was like a small peak in like during the pandemic. Yeah. Like it was going down, and then it went up.
Everybody was pregnant during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, they had nothing else to do.
Everyone was having COVID babies.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it started to go back down again. So yeah, there's a lot of like different reasons, which I've heard. I don't know about you, but I hear a lot of people now, like people I know are like, I don't want kids.
Yeah, I've actually,
like, I feel like it's very like split, maybe even more towards I don't want kids towards I want kids. Like it's not very like, oh, there's one person who doesn't want kids. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So I'm going to talk about some of the reasons that people are kind of predicting is why, the first one is the biggest one, which is the economy, which makes sense. I mean, we said it in our last episode. In this economy.
No, literally in this economy, like how can you afford kids? Like a kid, multiple kids.
Yeah.
I saw this TikTok and I'm like, yo, every time I see it, I gotta repost it because it's like, it's like this person like dancing because it's like, me going to my 9 to 5, knowing that like I'm gonna spend this money on myself. Yeah. Like I don't have kids. Like I don't need to spend my money on kids and supporting other people. It's so crazy.
No, it is. It's there's like so many factors that go into it, and the first one is childcare. Apparently,
oh my God,
the average childcare per child here in the U.S. is $25,000, and obviously that varies state by state. And we live in a more expensive state, I will say. I don't know how it is in other states, but that's about on average. Like I would talk to people who had kids, it's like at least $2,000 a month they would spend.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
And it's so crazy because it's like, one, that's damn near rent.
Yeah.
That's more than someone's mortgage payment. But two, like childcare scares me too. Like if I were to have a kid, I would try to make sure that I would be able to be in a position where I don't have to put my child in childcare, because the amount of times your kid gets sick is actually insane.
Also like depends on where you take them. It is risky. Like there are like really bad stories.
Yeah, just safety wise, health wise, financially. Like what are the
and there's it's like wait lists for the really good ones.
Yeah, it's so sad because it's like there's so many people that literally don't even have a choice. Like they have to put their kids in childcare, and it's just a shit situation.
Or they have to just put them in a really bad one, because that is a lot of money. If you think about like your paycheck, and then after you pay all your bills, do you have an extra $2,000?
Babe, the thought. I'm like,
I mean, that's why there's joint income. I mean, but think about a single mother.
That's what I'm saying. Especially single mothers. Like, they're the ones that more than likely have to do the child care because who else is going to watch the kids?
No, exactly. I mean, that's why a lot of people resort to family help if you're lucky, but not everyone's blessed in that situation.
Exactly. Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing. The economy and like the cost to raise a child until they can go to public school is really high. But then there's so many other factors,
just
like
economically, activities, diapers,
clothing,
formula.
Doctor's appointments, all this. There's so many things that like go into that. I feel like people don't necessarily think about.
It's just
sometimes.
it's not the same as it used to be.
No, it's not.
And I need people to really sit down and understand. Like,
yeah,
people always are like, oh, why don't you want kids? Like, I do want kids, but they ask people that don't want kids why, our age, why? And it's like, literally, would you feel comfortable having a kid right now?
Right.
Like, really? Like, even if everything was set.
Well, that's exactly sometimes what like some people ask themselves and they're like, no.
Exactly. And that's and I think what the difference is. I feel like our generation is very real, and they understand. You know what? I'm not ready. I'm not going to be able to provide.
I don't want to be a parent or a mother or a father. Yeah.
I'm not prepared. Like, I don't think this is what I'm set out to do. Right. One, at least right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And they could really have that honest conversation with themselves and be like, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a kid. Whereas I feel like generations before us, it was like, we'll make it work.
Right. Or there was more pressure, I think, behind it from society because everybody was having kids. So you kind of felt like it was the next step.
Exactly.
Whereas now I feel like there's more choice.
Yeah.
That people have. I mean, there's some people that didn't have kids in that generation, obviously. But it was very like more frowned upon. I feel
exactly.
Like
I was about to say it looks very.
Which is sad because I'm sure women also struggled with pregnancy.
Exactly, with their own, maybe they did want to have kids, but they physically couldn't. And it's like, you ever think about that? I feel so bad for women that like, couldn't have children. And that's like a personal struggle that they had, but they were deemed to society like unwanted or like, looked
they're not
down
worthy.
Because
a woman isn't just made to produce. I don't know, but
say it again. And say it louder for the people in the back because it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Oof,
then that's the other factor talking about price is for people who actually do want to have kids and they struggle like fertility. A lot of women, that's actually becoming a bigger trend is the struggle to have kids, which is due to a lot of other factors. I feel like that we're exposed to food, environment. Yeah. There's a lot of other
stress, everything.
But like IVF treatments and is crazy. I saw something, it was like 10 to 15,000 just for like one round. And most people have to do like multiple rounds.
Exactly.
So,
which luckily, like since like technology and science has advanced, it's gotten a lot cheaper because I remember I was watching like 90 Day Fiance and it was like this gay man who is in a relationship now, but years ago, he wanted to have kids and he wasn't going to marry a woman to do that. This is like back in the 90s. And he did like an IVF process to have his kids. And it was expensive, like 70 grand or something. Something crazy back in the day. So like luckily now it's, more affordable, but that's not necessarily an expense people want to take out.
That's also like, that's sad for people like that, not what, I'm not sorry, I'm like stumbling on my words, but like not a heterosexual couple or a home, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not fair to them because if they want to have kids, they have to go through this whole process and spend all this money, which is kind of defeating in a way because it's like you just want to be able to produce offspring and there's all these hurdles you have to go to. And then in some states, like where is it? You see that thing in Alabama? I think they did this whole thing on like how in vitro, like where they're producing, like I think it's IVF basically. Like they're maybe saying it's like not legal, like it's going through a whole thing. I don't know the whole details. I saw something.
Yes. You know what? I'm not even gonna go there with Alabama, but just know, Alabama, there's a lot of other things you need to be focusing on in your backyard. In regards to,
do we have any listeners from Alabama? I feel bad.
and conceiving and who's.
I don't know if that audience would listen to this completely.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying. I'm not gonna go.
Shout out to the people from Alabama,
Facts.
though. If you're listening, we're not talking to you.
We're not talking to you directly,
We're
but I'm
talking to
just
more the
saying,
government
the
officials.
government officials and stuff. But yeah, there's bigger fish to fry in Alabama than
But-
telling someone. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Well,
Because
that's
they all they want us to do is like have kids, basically, because they're trying to take away abortions and things like this.
IVF is like against like the natural way.
Yeah,
of-
it's
there's
not.
like a whole. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, there's too much.
I'm
you
like,
want-
oh, I didn't know you were God. Interesting.
But yeah, so that's kind of like the main. The first one is the cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Financials.
The second
Breaking
one,
the bank. Because I'm just thinking about all the stuff I buy for myself.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like changing your lifestyle
Like,
and thinking about that. Well, actually, before we jump to the next point, I do want to say a lot of people are seeing what it's like to have the dual income, no kids, and they're like, "This is great.
shit.
This is great." Like like
I got dual income, no significant other. It's just me with multiple streams.
well, that's exactly just think about all your
And-
money. You can just, I mean, even being like single and like having to spend money for just like if you don't split your expenses, it's still a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still have extra money you can spend.
Exactly.
But when you put your incomes together and
I know that's fine.
And
Can't
you're
wait for that. Can't wait for that
But that's what I'm
duel.
saying. A lot of people are experiencing that, and since I think there's also a delay in when people are having kids
Yeah, for
versus
sure.
like people were having them like early 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
Like immediately after they graduate college, whatever. Now there's more of a wait until like you're in your 30s.
Yeah, with established career.
Yeah, and the waiting to save, getting married, whatever, like getting married later. And because of that, people are kind of, I feel like, experiencing what it's actually like to be a young adult
Yeah.
and have dual income, no kids. And they're like, this is kind of great. Do we actually
No
want to have
stress,
kids?
really.
Yeah.
Your only stress is really,
And it
your
is
job,
yeah.
maybe. And maybe family things and stuff. But like, that's a lot of responsibility to have a kid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people know that. And I think a lot of people in our generation kind of like, not necessarily that we're pointing fingers to our parents or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like certain things that you can kind of see where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to be in that position. Like, I don't want to do that with my kids.
Right. I think we're looking at the older generation, how a lot of them actually weren't happy.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we want to change that.
Exactly.
And actually do something that makes us happy. And sometimes we're looking at the reality of what it's like to have a kid. And as beautiful as that can seem, there's so many other factors to
Yeah.
it that is like, is it actually something you want? People are actually asking themselves that question.
Exactly. Do I actually want to have kids?
And a lot of people are answering no.
And that's real as hell.
Yeah.
That's real.
And then, okay, so the next point is that a lot of women are, which as they should, raising their standards, and not just settling with anybody just to have a kid. I feel like before, well, there still is a timeline in a sense. Well, an imaginary timeline, imaginary but not imaginary.
What, the clock?
The clock,
Yeah.
which is like you need to kind of have this partner by this time, get married by this, and then have a child. But now it's kind of more like, okay, it's a little less strict. People know there's still a timeline of when you need to have
Kids.
when you kind of need to have children by. But women are like, I don't care. I'll wait till I find the right person. Like, I'm not just going to settle down just to have
Period.
kids.
That's what I'm talking about, ladies. Let's raise our standards. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people are like, I'm not just going to settle. And a lot of, there's the other take that, I mean, the options aren't that great. And people aren't settling down either. I feel like that's another dating. I mean, we've talked about that a lot, about the change in dating culture nowadays, with how people don't want to settle. So that is another factor too.
That is another factor.
I feel like men want to settle down later, and then a woman kind of wastes her time and then figure that out.
Yeah.
And then have to kind of restart, There's not like the alignment. And I mean, that's also why a lot of women date older. But
that's a fact.
Yeah, but that's the big thing too, is a lot of women aren't just getting married, just have kids, which was a bigger trend, I feel like, during the baby boomer generation and that older. Which that's not...
Which it was, because it was more, the society was more traditional in a sense where, you're supposed to get married and then have your kids and and, God forbid you have a kid out of wedlock, run and go get married. Like, and then you're kind of locked in, and who wants to go through a divorce? All right, just suck it up.
No, exactly.
And you could stand them. a little bit. Whatever. He's not that bad. But in hindsight, he probably was. Probably could have found someone
Well,
else.
that's the other thing. Divorce rates are up. So you're like, divorce
Facts.
even.
It's once some kids leave the nest. Now that's when start to cut them ties.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, that makes sense.
That's a bigger one. I mean, and that honestly makes a lot of sense, and I respect that too, because I don't think anybody should just be forcing their time and forcing it with somebody just so they can have children or feel like they're, I don't know.
I agree.
And then the next one is social media, like how it's showing the reality of what it's like to be a mother and what it's like to have children. Because before, I feel like TV was just showing like the glamorization of what it's like to have a child, like the beauty of like there's all these commercials and like things like how cute it is and whatnot. And now we're seeing like the actual behind the scenes of like what, like people are posting raw footage of what it's like to be a mother through like YouTube, through vlogs, through just everyday TikToks, through just like random things people want to show. So people are seeing that and they're like, this is not really what I want at all. I mean, kind of makes sense. We're seeing the actual reality of what it's like to be a parent and especially be a mother, because that is a big role to step into. Not just, this is no disrespect to any being a father, but I feel like being a mother is like a whole other thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it holds
One is
more
more
weight.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but
One usually takes more responsibility than the other naturally in a sense. So yeah, and then there's this other trend, which is, it's kind of sad. I don't know if you've seen that, like some women are coming out and saying like they're honest, and I respect the honesty in a way that they feel like they're not deemed to. This wasn't their path to be a mother, and they kind of regret having children. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen those.
How it's like they don't like despise their child, but it's more like I don't think this was the role for me. They almost regret having children because now they have to step into a role they don't feel like they were meant to do.
Yeah,
because sometimes some people don't want to be a mother, and that's okay. Or I mean, for the
kind
men's
of
case,
like
father.
peer pressured into it, kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
you guys got married. Like, when's the kids coming? You know, like that's a very common thing, which I get. I mean, that's the thing, and I think this applies to many different topics in today. Like, just that we have to deal with is we have social media. We could see the real of these things, of being a mother, of all these different things, actual footage, vlog footage of these people's lives.
Yeah.
And you could really be like, oh, shit.
And people come out with these random stories. Have you seen the girl with the list?
Yeah.
Like how it's like 100+ reasons why not to have, like, because it's all these women coming out. Well, this happened during my pregnancy.
Yeah.
This happened with my one. This happened.
Yeah.
And like they're just writing down all these things. And it's like, I don't think we necessarily saw all this before.
Exactly. I agree.
So yeah, there's that. And then not to like take away, I'm not taking away from the father responsibility.
Shout out to the fathers.
Shout out to the fathers.
All right.
Present.
Happy
Shout
early
out to our
Father's Day.
fathers. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to our dads. Yeah.
But I just want to briefly talk about, again, the mother role and how it is completely different for when women have to give birth and the things they have to go through post-birth.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally, physically.
100%.
And it's just, you really change and evolve into a new person.
Yeah, your body literally changes.
Yeah, your body literally changes. Yeah. Like they say your body's never really the same.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But there's a lot of those emotional changes that I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't want to go through that. And that's okay too. Because like now we're seeing a lot on like postpartum depression, like women, like mothers feeling like they lost like an identity of who they are, which this doesn't happen in all cases for sure. Yeah. But there are a good amount of cases, especially if like sometimes relationships change after they give birth and they don't feel supported or heard. So there's just a lot of factors that I feel like women have to go through. Because one, physically giving birth is one thing.
That's its own episode.
Thing. Yeah, Gen Z is already scared of like giving birth.
No, facts.
And then the other thing is going through the mental aspect, and are you ready for that? Because it is a big change, and sometimes you feel very lonely. Whether you have a partner or not, because unless you're going, I mean, that's why some people look for other mothers, you know what I mean? And sometimes you're having kids at a different time than your friends are, so you can't really relate to your friends. You know, and like that's the other thing is your friendships kind of change.
That's
not
true.
drastically, like real friends will stay, but like it's not gonna be the same, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Like until everybody kind of has their kids, or
Right. Then you go into that motherhood friendship.
yeah,
But if there's still people like, oh, single, looking out to date, just living their
yeah,
life versus somebody who's having a child,
yeah.
like it's two different lifestyles that you just can't. So, yeah. Which I feel like that's kind of heavy in a way. And I don't think people talk about it enough. And when people say like, oh, I don't want to have kids, well, these are factors that people are considering because like a child is a lifelong commitment. Well, at least for 18 years. You know what I mean?
That's still a lifelong
It's
commitment,
still
though. If you love
lifelong,
your
yes.
kid, you're always, and that's another thing. Like,
Right.
you're always gonna have that worry.
Yeah, no matter what.
No
Like
matter
our
what.
parents are still worried about us and
Exactly.
we're 25, 26. Like it's not. So, yeah, I don't know. And we won't talk too much about the negative for too much longer. There's only like a few other points.
I mean, these are great points.
Okay, I think I mentioned on like how being a mother doesn't sound as appealing, and then how there's a lack of support for mothers. And then another reason why a lot of people is like literally the environment. A lot of people are not trying or bringing children into this world that we have. A lot of people are like, why are we going to bring anybody with the way the world is? And also the environmental. That was a big one. Like the consumerism and environmental impact of like one person is just crazy in this time. So, yeah, it's a whole other reason. And I hear that one a lot too, is I don't want to bring a child into this world. Like the world.
I don't blame anybody. That's a great reason.
That's a great reason.
Because when you really sit back and look around about what's going on in this world, even our country alone, our state alone, you know what I'm saying? Like, just all the things that are going on that are so negative, and just that just brings me ongoing fear, constant fear of, I mean, just think of all these school shootings.
Yeah. Well, I just think all the things that we have to worry about now versus what older generations necessarily had. I think there was always things to worry about, but I feel like there's just so...
I think there's things that are more prevalent now.
And think about like raising children and like having them at a young age be exposed to social media. Like there's things that our kids are going to have to do that we never were exposed to.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
So, yeah, I don't know. I respect that reason too. People are real. And...
I mean, just turn on the news.
Yeah,
turn on the news. Nightly news with Lester Holt.
Yeah,
6:00. You'll see. Like, I mean, I don't blame him. Like, for real. I don't even watch the news anymore. That's how sad it is.
Oh yeah, no.
Imagine bringing a child into this world and
being exposed to that so young.
Yeah.
Especially with I can't with the social media thing because they can see anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of had the internet.
Yeah,
but
we
not
had to
an
probably,
extent.
when we were younger, we would probably have to dig if we wanted to find something
like I
crazy.
wasn't really digging.
But
like
now
that,
you go on TikTok, you get exposed to something.
It's
I
so
just
easy
open the
now.
app.
Yeah, everyone has. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, those were kind of the main points I saw. And then the next thing I do want to talk about is quickly the economic implications of why people are concerned. Because if in Japan right now, the issue is that there's not enough people to contribute. Like if not enough people are working, you're not paying enough taxes and you're not paying for government programs. So that's why the whole thing is like, oh, when we get older, there's not going to be enough Social Security because there's not going to be enough people working.
I already knew that wasn't going to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I let that dream go a long time ago.
Down, yeah.
No, not even the population.
Oh,
just the way that the government is handling things, that they're cutting things. There's gonna come. I know by the time we get to that age where we could get Social Security, it's not gonna.
Yeah, they're gonna cut it.
That's gonna be long gone. We're only 25, 26. 65 is the retirement age.
Sad.
We got a minute. So let me tell you, and looking at the government and the economy right now and seeing how they mishandling things.
Well, that's what I'm saying too.
Please, you think we getting any? We ain't getting shit.
Yeah, and I mean, not to bring this into like a political conversation, but I mean, everything is politics. But
facts
is one big solution is immigration. You know what I mean? Like if we're not like having a better system for immigration to come in and bring up the population, have more children. That's what Japan's doing. They have to have immigrants
I'm
because
trying to go to
they're
Japan.
I know, right? They're paying people
Yeah.
really well. I mean,
Might
Europe,
find my
there's
little
also
bookie over there. Hold on.
there's countries in Europe too that are having like the same issue.
Yeah.
But
I mean, hey.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So to kind of more bring it back, what are your thoughts on people saying it's selfish for people who don't want to have kids? Because that's the big comment and the big judgment and statement when it comes to people saying, "Oh, I don't want kids." It's like, "Oh, you're
That's
selfish."
the dumbest thing anyone can ever say. And if anyone were to say that to me, they would probably get a nice, clean punch in the face. Because how am I selfish for knowing that I'm not in a position to bring a child into this world and me being self aware enough to know that?
Right, or not
Whether
having
I'm
the
not
desire to do that.
yeah, whether I'm not emotionally there, like I'm not, I know that I don't want to emotionally
Right.
do that, financially look at the state of the world right now.
I mean,
I don't think, I think it's very selfless of me to
right.
not bring a child into this world,
Exactly.
especially if you look around, like read a news article. Tell me, is it positive? Almost 9 times out of 10, it's not. So how
Yeah.
is that selfish? Like, mind your business. That's the problem. I'm not coming at y'all. I'm getting passionate though. It's like, what's it to you? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, mind your business. If you want to have kids, go ahead. If you feel like you're ready to do that, go ahead. But when I'm ready to do what I want, I'll do it then. But who are you to come and tell me what I'm selfish for not putting my body through that, first of all?
Right.
Please.
Or just being real, honestly,
Yeah,
because
that's the problem. Your
we're
mama probably should have said she don't want to have kids. That's why you that way.
I think a lot of people just didn't necessarily think of the implications or things they'd have to go through. And I mean, I think mothers even to this day were like, I didn't know this, like this one thing. Like everyone's always coming out with something. Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know this came with motherhood. I didn't know this came with
yeah.
motherhood. I didn't know this came with having a
And now
child.
we kind of
And we
know.
kind of know. So it's like we're critically thinking about all these
That's what I'm
factors.
saying. Like, okay, so if you had all this information back when you were having kids, prior to you having kids, and you had all the information that we have, would you still have kids?
Yeah,
Or
no.
even learning all the things that you've learned as a parent, would you still have kids? Because there's going to be some people that are saying, yeah.
I mean, most parents, I feel like
Most
for the
parents are
most
going to say,
part,
yeah. But there's probably some, like we've seen on
I
TikTok.
feel like it's only really newer generation that's keeping it real. Be like, no.
That's because we real. We the realest
And I
generation.
don't think it's anything against their own kids. I just think it's literally like,
No, it's definitely not against their own kids. Jesus.
yeah, I think it's
Just them being real. Like,
well,
yo,
because
I
it's a
didn't
big
really.
sacrifice. And I think a lot of people live these great lives. Like they're traveling, they're doing all these things, they're going out with their friends. Like they're spending their money and doing the things they want to do with their time.
Yeah.
And they look at like, if I have children, even though you don't need to sacrifice all of it, you're sacrificing
You sacrifice a good
at
amount.
least probably 80% of that because
Especially in the beginning.
in the beginning, yeah. Because you don't have the funds. I mean, unless you got it like that. I mean, if you do,
And I'll be having it like that when I have kids. That's one thing I know.
but apart from even the funds, it's the time.
Yeah.
Like, unless you want a nanny raising your child, like you need to be there.
Exactly.
And your child's always the first thing in your mind, no matter what you do. It's like their activities, they're at school. What do we need to get them? What like they're
Yeah.
and you kind of put yourself second. And I think that's what people are saying. They're like, I like putting myself first, and I live a great quality of life like that.
Yeah.
Or they like putting their partners first
Yeah.
and themselves, and to bring somebody else in, is that really what they want? Because it drastically changes your life. And I know a lot of people know this, but like it actually does drastically change your life. These things
Well,
that
it
you're doing,
changes your life. It could change your relationship
Yeah.
with the person that you're having the child with. It could change your friendships. It could change
your whole
changes
lifestyle, what you do.
Exactly. It changes everything.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to commit to that change, and if you're not ready for that change, I think that's very selfless
Right.
for
I
you
agree.
to be self-aware enough
Because
to know
I think
because I think a lot of people in prior generations weren't ready.
No, and that's what caused, well, that's why a lot of people were unhappy. And they say
Exactly.
there's like this, like, I saw this, I did a lot of research for this episode, which made me kind of
Okay,
realize
it's
like,
giving librarian. It's giving
well, not a lot of it. I just kind of like looked up a
researcher.
few things and like was kind of seeing trends.
She was looking at charts, y'all.
I was looking at charts. I
Pie
was looking
charts, graph charts.
well, I mean, it's just I
bar
feel like a lot of
charts.
people talk about it in general, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, what I was saying is I saw a lot of this made me realize I'm like, do I even want my own? Like and that's the thing is like, I've always kind of wanted to be a mother. I think
Yeah.
you always wanted to too. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to have my own, and there is a beauty in having children, I think. But like doing this, I'm like, well, shit, this is something like you actually, because it is a
Facts.
lot of things you have to think about.
Yeah.
Like we said, you have to critically think about these things. And if you're not prepared, that's what causes women to go through all these emotions when they have children.
Yeah.
Like very profoundly go through these. Like, so, I mean, you have a lot of emotions when you have children, but like you don't really, if you're not prepared to lose friends, to have friendships change, to have your relationship change, to have like your hobbies change, to have your whole lifestyle change.
Yeah. Your whole thought process.
Your whole thought
It's not even, oh, what do I have to do today? It's like, okay, what does
you wake
little
up,
guy
no, the whole
have to
thing
do?
is like, oh, I have to come home from work. I want to lay down. No, you have a child.
Oh my God. I saw a TikTok like that. I was like, yeah, see.
Like imagine you come home from a long day of work
And you have to take care of a kid.
and they're like, what's for dinner?
Mommy,
No,
what's for dinner? Chicken
everyone's like,
nuggets?
I see why my mom got pissed when I get home and they didn't defrost the chicken.
Facts. That's a fact, though. Honestly, because I'd be hot.
No,
Imagine.
but the amount of times I forgot.
No, I've forgotten it multiple
But
times.
it's
I'm like, oh shit.
You kind of start to empathize with like what your parents and
No,
especially
literally.
mothers went
Just
through.
like little things that they would ask you to do, you forget. You're like,
But
now,
I'm
thinking
seeing,
about
I'm
it,
like, I'd
I'm
be
like,
pissed.
I'd be hot.
But yeah. Oh, what I meant to say during my research is I saw one graph saying that there's like this like this doesn't happen for every woman, but there's like this period of time in the beginning where like it's all these happy emotions and like your life, you're like just your child is everything and it's like great. And then kind of once as they start to grow up and like I don't remember the exact age that happens at, but it kind of goes down because of like your life becomes this and you not that you forget who you are, but you kind of do a little bit. And then it's like, who are you once like your child is kind of having they're creating their own life. You know what I mean?
True.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like for me now I want to talk solutions. Like what are the solutions for how can we kind of change the stereotype? Because I feel like it's not really changing. Like the more each year, I guess more people are saying they don't want kids.
Yeah.
Like it's just going up and up. Like if you were to ask everybody. And I think my number one thing is more support for parents, especially like the mother.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's more support medically, physically, just financially, then people would be more willing to have children. But without that support, it's like, why do I want to do this sometimes?
Yeah.
Unless
I
it's your
agree.
biggest desire. And some people that is. And you know, like I think we want to have children too, but
Yeah.
there's all
I'm
these
not in a
factors
rush,
too. Yeah,
though.
no.
At all.
And then the other thing is sacrificing your career. We didn't even talk about that one.
Babe.
That's a whole other thing. Is you sacrifice your career
Yeah.
for
You
the most part.
sacrifice a
Sometimes
lot.
both parents do, but like
Yeah.
usually it's some yeah.
There would be. I do want to have kids. But
Well, you said you wanted to pop out 5 once.
I want to pop out a little football team, low key. I say that just to say that, guys. But I don't really know how many I would actually want.
Yeah.
But I know I definitely want to be a mother. But I also know that I'm not mentally there right now. For
Oh
that.
yeah, no,
Please.
I'm not there at
But there's just things that I personally would like to have in place, ready.
all. Right.
You know, I don't want it to be an accidental, which accidents do happen.
Right.
But if I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm planning to have a kid, like there's certain things that I just want to make sure that, financially set,
Right.
am I living in an area that I want to live in?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even just like,
Are you with the right person too?
am I with the right person? Like just a bunch of different factors that I would really have to sit down and take into account. It would have to be very planned.
Yeah.
Even though,
Well, I was just
God
about to
laughs at our
bring-
plans. So, yeah. But I think I would have to be in a situation where I know that, okay, if it were to happen, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It happening. Bless you. Bless you. See,
Sorry.
I said it second.
Thank you.
Before. That's how you
And that's
stop
how you
it.
oh,
I
really?
always do it. Yeah, I always do it to people.
But back to what you were saying is how you want to be established. But then there's the other thing of, again, the ticking clock of like, because
Exactly.
I say that too. I'm like, I would love to have traveled all these things, like done all these things with my boyfriend, um done all these things with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
established my career. And it's not saying your life is over once you, that's not
Yeah.
what we're saying. It's just changes, and there's certain things that you might not be able to do as easily when you have kids. So I
100%.
want to just be able to do all these things and then have kids, but then it's like, oh,
Biological
there's this
clock.
yeah, like it's just kind of like, I feel like it's like a weight over every woman's shoulders.
I
It's
think
like,
it is
and it's sad
for
because it's
sure.
like, oh, I would love to wait like another 10 years, but then it's like, I'm 26, I'll be 36.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And some women do have children that late, which, and it's fine. There's just definitely, with more time, it's a little bit harder and maybe a little bit more risky.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because I know my mom, like, I don't know if necessarily, I don't remember if it was her that said this, but a lot of times some people are glad that they had their kids young because, like, now that, she's young.
right. Yeah.
And
My mom was
now
too.
we have my nephew, like, she's young enough to
Oh,
still,
she has
like,
her. Yeah.
her grandson, she's young enough to, chase him
Right.
around and do all these fun things. You know what I'm saying? So there's pros and cons by having kids young.
Yeah. There's definitely.
I
Yeah.
But the thing, I just think things were just completely different back then.
I agree. Well,
Price wise, I mean, just
I mean, the other.
stereotypical, like, you know what I'm saying? Traditional values wise, like all
Yeah.
these
Things are
different
just
things.
different.
It
Yeah.
was just different. So I just think, I just want people to really sit and compare, how things were back in the olden days and now. And
Yeah. It's like if you
see,
were, putting yourselves in our shoes. I mean, people can't
exactly.
even buy houses. Let's start with that one.
Let's get
Because
into it.
because before you could do all these steps way easier than pop
Exactly.
out a child. It's so hard to buy a house now.
It's literally
Like the
so hard
prices, yeah.
to buy a home, a forever home. Not even a freaking
And not
forever
saying you
home.
need a home necessarily
Yeah,
to
but
necessarily
that's,
have to, but it is what most people aspire to have.
yeah, is to have a house and then have your kids.
Children,
And
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's a family house, at least, for the time being, until you decide to move or whatever.
Right.
But you can't even do that. So we missing steps now.
Yeah, facts.
We're
There's
skipping.
gaps.
Yeah, there's gaps. We did the college bit. We got the careers.
Well, a lot of people also, I briefly want to talk about this too, is how a lot of people now are having kids without getting married. Do you notice that?
Yeah,
And
that
that's a
is a
bigger
thing.
trend, is like they're not necessarily, which I don't see any issues with
Yeah,
that,
I
except for
don't.
like, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't get married for the financial aspects, for the taxes. But I mean,
This one's fiending. She can't wait for the
well,
tax
no,
break,
I'm
bro.
just saying when you file single
No, I
versus
know.
together.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, apart from that, like, there's not really, like, if you know what's signing a
I mean,
contract versus.
I think people are more. I think people are more willing to walk away from bad relationships when they're just relationships and not necessarily marriages. When it's a
That's true.
marriage, people are more like, we'll do it for the kids or whatever. I'm married.
But what if they have kids and they're not married?
Yeah, and they'll just co-parent. Like, it's easier for them to pick up and leave. That's been like a thing versus like just pick up and leave in a marriage.
I agree, but I think if there's kids involved, regardless, it's hard to pick up and leave.
I don't
We'll agree
I
to
don't think
disagree.
I don't think it's as hard.
I agree. I don't think it's as hard because there's not
I'm
as
sure
many
it's hard.
lawyers necessary. Well, it's still hard though, because there's the custody aspect you still have to go through.
Yeah,
You probably
child
still built a
support.
life together. The only thing you might not be as hard is financials, because if
I
you
mean,
didn't
I'm
link
thinking of
all your
people that are.
financials,
I'm not thinking of people that have been dating for 8 years and they had a kid. I'm talking about the ones that dating a year or two, popped out a kid. Don't really know if the relationship is going to stand the test of time. That's what I'm talking about. And I see why they wouldn't want to get married. What the hell?
Regardless, think
Y'all
about it.
want
I don't think there
kids?
should be as many. Do y'all want? I mean, critically thinking, do you want? And it's completely okay. Like, we still want kids. We're not saying we don't.
I definitely want kids.
Let's end on a positive note. There is a beauty. There's a beauty.
You just been shitting on not having kids.
I think, and the biggest one is that you want your family to grow and you don't want to be lonely as you get older. And then there's the whole thing, well, you shouldn't be relying on your kid to bring you companionship, and which I agree too.
That's true.
That is true.
That's very true.
But I mean, a growing family, and if you really care about family, a lot of people do like big families and to do things.
Yeah, I want like a huge family.
It is nice to do things with your family and
I
to
want like 8 of them.
watch your kids. You'll reach a certain age where it's like, all right, I don't know if I really want to travel every weekend. Like
Facts.
I'm down
Bring
to
the
go to a
kids.
soccer game.
Bring
like,
the kids. It could be a little
but then
family
there's like all your
extravaganza.
friends have kids too.
Exactly.
I mean, but it might be different for our generation. Not everyone.
Shit. It might be one with the kids.
Yeah.
And then you got the aunties.
Hey, everyone. That's the biggest thing is everybody wants to be an auntie or an uncle.
I'm currently the rich auntie. Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Now
that's what I'm aspiring to be.
That. I've had friends. I mean, I know I won't say their names, but there's I have a friend. He's like, I just want to be an uncle.
That's real.
And he's real. He's like, I'll be there, support the kids, and he's great with kids. He's like, I'm not gonna have my own.
That's real.
So, but yeah.
Eventually.
Anyways, we're ranting for a while. Let us know what y'all think.
Yeah.
Would you have kids? What do you think about the
generation? Yeah. First of all, what generation are y'all? Because then we could really gauge it. Second, you have a kid yet?
There definitely are some parents that are listening.
Yeah, I know. And
I
want to know, how has that experience changed you? Has it changed you for the better or has it changed you for the worse?
Yeah.
Not for the worse, but
I mean, that could be another episode we can have is get a parent on here. Talk about the positives.
Want to pull up mama?
I asked my parents yesterday because I was obviously prepping for the topic and I was like, what are your opinions on this? That people don't want to have kids and like, if you were to go back, I mean, obviously they're not going to tell me.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to tell us. We're the life of the party. But
facts. That's what I tell my parents. I'm like, I'm your sunshine in the rain, babe. Like,
but if you have a really good relationship with your parents, it's different. But I said, do you regret? They're like, no. My parents both said absolutely not. Like, they almost like they missed that time when we were younger. Yeah. And now it's a little bit harder because like they're readjusting to a life before they had kids because now my brother and I are doing our own thing and same with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
But they said that was like one of the best moments of life, like going to our soccer games, doing all these activities, going to all the school events, like taking us everywhere like that. They love doing that, traveling with us, like going on family trips. Like those are things that I feel like are worth mentioning and that there is a beauty in that, you know what I mean? And 100%. Having your own family and especially having a child with someone you really love, you know, like seeing what that is and like, because then you can just keep that love going in a way. But
and I think about it too. That's why, like, you know, I think from when I was younger and the things that I would do with my parents, like the trips that we would go on, or just the little fun things that we would do. Yeah, it was nice. Little things, just random things that I think about. Oh my God, I want to be able to do that. You know, create memories with my own kids. You know, they can make memories with my parents too. You know what I'm saying? Because I see the relationship I have with my grandparents. And that's another beautiful relationship that comes from you having your own kids. If you are lucky enough to have your parents still, is that connection. Because like my parents and then my nephew, like it's just so beautiful to watch, you know? Yeah. So that's another...
No, it is.
And it changes you too. It changes the people around you when you have kids too. Like my brother has a child now, and it's like I see him and my sister-in-law in like such a not a different light, right? But I just have even more respect for them than I did, and I appreciate them even more for taking care of my little nephew. He's so stinky cute. I'm just like, just thinking about him, want to cry.
There is a beauty of children. I mean, sometimes like you'll go out, you'll see like a kid screaming. And you'll be like, okay,
like, all right, reason number.
But I mean, for the most part, like, I mean, my parents used to always say, like, we weren't perfect, but like we weren't screaming like that.
Yeah,
and, like,
that's what I always.
We didn't really have. Like, I always asked them, like, were we like that? My mom was like, no, like you were never. Like there was definitely moments maybe when I was a teenager that my mom and I would go like back and forth.
We scrapping, yeah.
But I think as like a kid, necessarily, for the most part, I think it was. Not like we didn't really give our parents much of like
I wonder, and you know what, that's maybe another conversation for another day, but I'm very curious as to like what is the difference between it's like my cousins weren't like that, like I wasn't like that, like my brother wasn't like that, like one of those screaming kids in a store. Like what is the difference between us and those? Like is it the parents? Is it the cultures?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of I'm not a child expert. Therapist, but I mean, there's definitely reasons, and usually it comes down to parents. But I mean, anyways, we'll
Anyway.
wrap it up because we've been chatting for a while. But that's kind of our conversation. Let us know what y'all think. Based on what we said, and there might be points where like that's not absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Let us know. We want to have a discussion.
Yes.
And we know the topic was a little bit more serious, but
we make it lighthearted.
We make it lighthearted. We're just talking about real things, and that's the point of our podcast.
Yes.
Is we're talking about things that like we see every day or that affect
we're
us.
25, 26. I mean,
yeah,
my
and
grandpa
I know people
asks
who are
me
having kids
every time I talk to him, when am I going to give him a grandchild?
Oh, he says
a great
that?
grand.
Oh, jeez.
Like, Grandpa, you got other grandkids that could provide that for you at a quicker rate than me. And he's like, yeah, I know I have other grandkids, but I want one from you too. I want one from all of you.
Oh, that's cute.
I'm like, okay, Grandpa, you got a minute.
Yeah,
don't hold your breath, baby. Please, you got a minute.
That's funny.
But
yeah.
But we talk about real things. Like, that's real. I mean,
yeah,
people are having kids.
I
at
know.
this age, which is insane to think about.
Well, yeah, and then a lot of people are like, well, once you start approaching 30, then people are like, all right, like, when are you like, I mean, though, again, sorry, we say we're going to wrap up. This is my last point. I saw this TikTok the other day. This girl was like, have the kids 33, 34, great time. She's like, I just had a kid. I'm 30 something. She was like 33. She's like, best decision I ever made. Like, don't let people pressure you in. Like, I know people say like it might be more difficult, like, which is true. Those are valid concerns. It might be more difficult to conceive or a more difficult pregnancy. But she's like, I felt like I lived my 20s, even like my very early 30s. Like, I felt like I lived my life. I got to like be with my partner and experience like that solo time, and now I feel like ready to have a child.
Yeah,
so that might be more the thing, is the timeline.
Yeah, I think it's the timeline shifting versus necessarily. I mean, I think with the timeline shifting, I think in that timeline shift, people may decide to have kids later on.
Right? Yeah, if
but at this moment, they're like, no, I couldn't see it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But maybe in 5 years, they're like, actually,
maybe I will.
Maybe I will in like 2 years or so.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think just with the timeline changing and just the state of this world, child, I don't blame nobody for that.
Yeah, and the economy, everyone's like, no.
They
can barely even afford things for themselves.
Facts. Like, the U.S. is in debt. Please, like, let's figure out what's going to happen with that. Because what is my baby's going to be affected by that in about 20 years. What are we doing? Let's make college free, because then I'm going to have to pay for that.
Yeah. Well, that's another one. I forgot to even mention that one, but people did talk about that one. It's the same.
Facts. Everybody's debt.
Well, then they're like, we have to pay our student loans while saving for our children.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy. All right. Anyways, with that, we've been chatting for a while, but we will
talk about them kids, child. Talk about them again. Them kids. Yeah, them kids. I don't know if we gonna have them kids.
But yeah.
But no, shout out to all the kids though.
Shout out to all the kids and all the parents.
Facts.
Y'all doing the Lord's work. But yeah, with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Let us know what y'all think.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. That was too easy.
We hope you guys let us know what y'all think in the comments. We always like your feedback. Follow us on all social media and leave a review. Please.
Damn. She ain't saying please no more. She's begging.
Please leave a review. We just really appreciate all reviews. I mean, obviously more positive ones are better than negative ones, but we appreciate the constructive criticism.
If you got something negative to say, just DM us.
Yeah, DM us.
We can really get it popping in the DMs if you want to.
But yeah, and then listen to our other episodes and share our podcast if you can. But yeah, with that, and follow us on YouTube. We're trying to grow on there. It's hard on YouTube, but
it's hard out here for some queens over here. You know what I'm saying?
But most people, I think our biggest listening platform is Spotify.
I'd say.
But yeah,
maybe people aren't necessarily visual podcasters.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't visual.
I am. That's why
I don't
always
watch my podcast, because I listen to them like on my way to work or.
See, some people I watch them. Like, I sit and eat dinner and watch them.
But it's nice to have the option.
Yeah.
But
anyway, y'all see, we just can't stop talking. God damn.
But yeah, anyways, have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye,
y'all.